Montana's news station.
A personal platform for Miss Montana.
The humorous young woman shares her heartfelt story at a local high school. We're glad to have you with us on this Wednesday. Miss Montana's story is coming up.
But first, animal advocates have helped rescue dozens of dogs from a home on the east end of Great Falls.
But for some, the help came a little too late. KRTV's Tara Grimes has been following the story and joins us now live. Tara?
Well, that's right, Katie and Tim. The investigation started 7 weeks ago when a resident near Diana Drive told police her neighbor had more than 15 dogs on his property. When police investigated, they found 35 dogs. Pet Posse volunteer Gloria Lamont says she helped rescue 19 of those dogs. She says the dog's owner contacted her asking for her help, saying he was being investigated by animal control and was told to get rid of the animals. She describes the Maltese Schnauzers as unsocialized and poorly cared for with a putrid smell. Lamont took the dogs to F&L Pet Resort in Black Eagle, where they were taken care of until other rescues in Montana stepped in to help. Lamont says Pet Posse cleaned out its entire dog budget for the year to take care of these dogs.
They didn't know what it was to be picked up. None of them knew what a leash was. They're not socialized, and they're terribly, terribly unkept.
Lamont tells us 7 of those dogs had to be euthanized. She says individuals who had previously purchased a dog from the owner have reached out to her saying their dogs were too sick to keep. When we first spoke to police about the case, they told us they gave the dog's owner an opportunity to get rid of the dogs. They said the man was very cooperative and proactive through the process. GFPD says the case is now with the city attorney's office.
All right, thanks, Tara. The man who lost the race in House District 26 claims Democrats were campaigning at the polling place on Election Day.
Loney has filed a complaint with the Commissioner of Political Practices. He claims some of the Election Day actions of Tom Jacobson, Anders Blewett, and Carly Boland broke the law. Loney points to Boland receiving provisional ballots while working at the polling site. Boland is the House District 23 legislator and was re-elected on November 6th. Boland says she was just trying to help, and the incident made her embarrassed and humbly apologetic. As for Jacobson and Blewett, they were providing water, chips, and candy to the voters who were waiting in line. Loney says he believes the two men were electioneering.
Anders identified himself. He's an officer of the courts, and he's also a state senator. And when those two teamed up and started passing out things, they were electioneering in the polling place.
Jacobson, who defeated Loney in the election, says he was just trying to make sure everyone voted and he did not want people to leave because they were hungry or thirsty. He says he would have welcomed Loney to join him. Cascade County Election Administrator Rena Moore says she's been advised by legal counsel not to comment on that complaint.
In a similar case, the Commissioner of Political Practices ruled members of the Democratic Party did not violate election laws when they distributed food and water to Gallatin County voters in 2006. In Lake County, 3 complaints were filed against Justice of the Peace-elect Joey Jane, but the Commissioner of Political Practices says it will not investigate any alleged wrongdoing, saying Jane did not violate any laws. The complaints against Jane claimed she campaigned at a polling place the day before the election, but Commissioner Jim Murray says the statute outlawing electioneering at the polls is specific about prohibiting it only on Election Day.
The Great Falls man who led sheriff's deputies on a high-speed chase yesterday faces 11 charges for his crimes. Anthony Powers appeared before Judge McKittrick today. Given the nature of Powers' crime spree, the judge denied bail reduction. Bond was set at $50,000. His charges include felony criminal endangerment, possession of drug paraphernalia, and stalking. Court documents say Tuesday's chase started after Powers' soon-to-be ex-wife told him she was moving and taking her kids with them. Powers allegedly punctured his estranged wife's tires and chased her to the Cascade County Detention Center, where Powers failed to pull over for deputies. After traveling a few miles, the chase ended when Powers fled on foot briefly, then was arrested. While in court today, Powers also pleaded guilty to possession of dangerous drugs from an incident that occurred back in August of 2011.
Some changes in the forecast could impact your weekend plans.
Let's get over to meteorologist Mike Rollins. Mike, what are we looking at?
Well, Katie and Tim, I'm tracking a storm system coming in this weekend that could bring us some accumulating snow, especially in the mountains, but also at lower elevations. Check out the west right now. We've got a lot of clouds moving into big sky country, but scattered rain showers to the west. We've got a series of storm systems coming onshore, and they're dumping heavy rain, heavy snow, and one of them could affect us later this weekend. We'll look at it coming up.
All right, thanks, Mike. Montana farmers are keeping an eye on Washington to see if Congress will act on the farm bill before the end of the year.
MTN's Marnie Banks traveled to a farm outside of Bozeman to get a sense of what's really at stake.
This time of year, it's quiet on the farm. But back in D.C., Congress is busy trying to reach a deal which will have a big impact on farmers like Bruce Wright.
The problem with not having a farm bill right now is the uncertainty.
As a farmer and the vice president of the Montana Farm Bureau Federation, Wright says if Congress doesn't pass a farm bill, many farms could go out of business.
Why we need the farm bill is so that we know what to plan on and expect from the government's involvement in agriculture.
About 30 programs in the Farm Bill have already expired, including funding for the dairy program and the CRP. But Wright says the biggest provision, the crop insurance program, is the most important safety net of all.
It does keep farmers in business, which is what, that's where the food pretty much comes from. So if you're keeping farmers in business, you're ensuring a food supply.
The federal government has historically helped farmers pay for crop insurance. So when they have a bad year, the insurance company will pay the farmer regardless of the harvest. That program expires at the end of the year. So Senator Max Baucus is working to get a farm bill included in the year-end budget negotiations.
It's my job and job of members of Congress to pass good farm legislation, help small business, farmers and ranchers or small business people boost their income.
Baucus says the Senate's bill renews the crop insurance program and cuts the federal deficit by $23 billion, with crop subsidies feeling half the cuts. 80% of the farm bill is funding for the food stamps program. Wright says the portion that goes directly to Montana farmers is a small piece of the pie, but it's a piece that's critical to keeping Montana agriculture alive. In Bozeman, Marnie Banks, MTN News.
Both Congressman Denny Rehberg and Senator John Tester also support passing a farm bill before the end of the year.
Under the Affordable Care Act, the state has an option to expand Medicaid to include more low-income Montanans in the program, and that was a key topic at an annual health care forum in Helena today. Greg Davis with the Bureau of Business and Economic Research says all states face the decision to expand Medicaid to 138% of the federal poverty level. But Davis says the move could cost the state a lot of money.
Per enrollee costs are huge because they vary in this state by a factor of 10. So depending who will be joining Medicaid is a big deal because of the difference in cost per enrollee, the rate at which you grow those costs through time, because this is a time-sensitive thing.
Governor Schweitzer has proposed an expansion of Medicaid. Governor-elect Steve Bullock has not said where he stands on the issue, and legislative Republicans oppose expansion.
Miss Montana 2012 has made autism awareness her mission for the year.
Understanding her platform comes all too easy as Alexis Weinman lives with autism. Today, the Cutbank native shared her story in front of hundreds of students at C.M. Russell High School.
Our own Beth Beachy was there and tells us how a good dose of humor has helped Alexis to the top.
Alexis Weinman was diagnosed with autism at the age of 11, and her mission as Miss Montana is to spread autism awareness, because she says it's not autism that defines her, rather she defines it.
I think by spreading the message that everyone's different, whether they're autistic or not, it not only spreads autism acceptance, but universal acceptance.
Weinman told students how just a few years ago she was the kid in the corner staying silent because of her speech impediment. But since then she's grown in herself, and she says she never dreamed of hanging up her running shoes for a different pair.
I know how to walk in the heels now. But that's not all who I am, and I think a lot of people get misconceptions about the misses and how they're all beauty queens and everything like that. I am not. In fact, growing up, I didn't even like pageants.
But after winning the pageant in June, her family says they've had no trouble bragging about their little sister here and there.
just say, oh yeah, my little sister is Miss Montana, and she's incredibly cool, and you want to go play video games with her? Sure. She loves that.
The Weinman family called themselves entertainers, to say the least. Her brother had just finished a play when he found out his sister was Miss Montana 2012, and she did it with the talent of making people laugh through stand-up comedy, which she thinks will set her apart at nationals.
I love it. I'm not the best, but I'm not the worst. But I love it, and I think the judges can see whether you're enjoying it as much as the audience is.
And if these students were any inclination, the audience will enjoy Alexis as much as she loves making people laugh. In Great Falls, Beth Beachy, MTN News.
And Alexis will represent Montana at the Miss America pageant. That's January 12th in Vegas. I had a chance to work with her at the Show Dare Telethon back in June. She's a very sweet girl. Yeah. She's from Cut Bank. That means she's tough, too.
You got to be tough up in Glacier County.
Yes, you
do.
Cold,
snowy. A lot of times it's windier than everywhere else in Montana. Thankfully, the winds aren't too high, but we do have a high wind watch that has been issued already for the Rocky Mountain front. We've got some more gusty winds on the way here in the next 48 hours. Temperatures tonight not getting too cold in Great Falls, down to near the freezing mark, 23 in Lewistown. Teens as you travel north on the High Line. We do have the threat for some freezing rain and sleet tonight. I'll show you where coming up.